Hello, Wire family, and welcome again from Kampala, Uganda. My name is Antonia, and I welcome you dearly to the Wire Collective livestream. So, as you can see, something small but very important and very exciting happened. Those that are watching the stream a bit longer know, and they know the struggle. And yeah, we did our part to finally resolve it by getting a new microphone. So for me, I'm very happy. I hope you don't only just see it, but that you also especially hear it, and that the sound this time is much better. Might be that we have to, work a little bit with this microphone to really get the most value out of it and the best sound. But yeah, we have been working on it, so I'm really excited about this small new feature. Now to the really important things. I wanted to before we get into the interview, I wanted to really show and give some updates from the community, actually, because I think that there are really, right now, really amazing things happening there. Simon, our DAO architect, is really doing an amazing job. And I can only say I'm extremely proud of what's been, coming out of the DAO, basically, of the community, contributors. And that's why I really want to share it a little bit with you and tell you, what's really going on, what are people contributing, what is happening in the Wire DAO. And we've been talking about making Wire a DAO from the start, really from the beginning. And for us, that mainly means that the community can contribute really to the shape and how Wire Collective is built by contributing their ideas, their work, to Wire Collective, and earn also tokens in reward. And we didn't know at the beginning how this is going to work, if this is going to work. But I think we're actually really on an amazing track. It took some time to, I think, to get it right, to understand, how can we enable everyone to contribute and to have ideas and to really be able to put them into things and to work together. And I just want to share two things that already came out of the community, two projects which are really just amazing. And the first thing is actually a new paper. So we, as I said, have been really thinking a lot about governance, about the DAO. And we have kind of this, not an issue, but we have this task of creating the governance for Wire Collective. And what's interesting or important about that is that Wire is a DAO, so it is in some way democratic. So there's rules and a governance that people can decide over. But Wire Collective is also an industrial network. It's also about industries. It's about making profits. That is a main part of it. So we really thought about how can we combine these things? How can we create a governance that really makes sense for Wire Collective, for this use case? And one community member, Noak, was really amazing. And he actually wrote a governance paper with us. And it was really mainly his work. And yeah, I can only say this is really an amazing job. So thank you so much, Noak. It's, really, really amazing. And yeah, it is coming soon. So we're still working a bit on it and perfecting it. But this is one thing that I think we and also the community and also Noah can be really, really proud of. And yeah, that these amazing things can come out of it. And I think that also shows that it works, it can work. These things that we talked about, the DAO, the network organization, giving people space, it can work and it works. And another small thing that I just want to give a little teaser about is something that I think will excite most people on Twitter and Cardano and crypto people, which is, we wanted to create something that helps everyone understand even more what Wire Collective is and how it is to open a collective. And we, or the community, came up with an amazing idea that has something to do with NFTs. More will follow. Again, this is just a teaser, but it won't take long. There's more NFTs coming. And here I really want to thank Lucia. She really helped with a lot of good ideas, a lot of good input, and really a lot of support. So thank you, Lucia, and everyone else can really be looking forward to NFTs. And yeah, if you are interested in that, if you want to also get into that, if you also want to really become part of Wire and become part of the team, if you have ideas like the governance paper, like things that you think you want to contribute, you can absolutely do that. And the easiest way to join is really to join the community town hall that happens every Thursday at 5 p.m. UTC, which is 7 p.m. Central European time and 8 p.m. East African time. It happens on Discord. You can just join, ask questions, get in, and yeah, really join the contributors and also apply. So I think that's it for the community updates. I hope you're really as excited about it as we are. So really, really amazing. And yeah, enough about that, I think. Sorry. Now I think we should really give our special guest today, the stage. And I wanted to give you a little backstory to him. So I interviewed our special guest today already first about 2 years ago in a podcast that I was doing about outstanding entrepreneurs, outstanding African entrepreneurs. And that really, it changed a lot my mind, I think. And it really pushed me on the track of actually wanting to build industry in Africa and also why it's important and where the opportunities are. And I'm talking about no one less than Mutoba Ngoma. He is the managing director of his company, Tapera Industries. He's been an advocate for industrialization in Africa for many years, and he has also received many awards for that, Forbes 30 Under 30, among others. And he's now not just an inspiration to me, but he's actually an advisor and strategic contributor to Wire Collective. So I am extremely honored to welcome Mutoba here today. So hello, Mutoba, how are you doing?
Morning, Antonia. How are you?
I'm fine. Very good.
Great.
Very happy to have you here.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's been a long time in the making, so I'm happy to be here now.
That's absolutely true. So yeah, I think we can just start really. I mean, I introduced you a little bit, but maybe you can also say some words about yourself. How would you describe yourself?
Okay, so my name is Mutoba Ngoma. I'm the CEO and founder of Tapera Industries Limited. Um, we are known in Zambia for the biofuel production in different value chains along the biofuels industry, and as well as a local natural soap called Chinkonja. Tapa Chinkonja natural soap is what we are also known for producing in Zambia. And we started this back in 2009. After I lost my job, I thought maybe let's start something that is something I can control. And I looked at the manufacturing sector as the best avenue to impart my skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, yeah, of course, I know a little bit about your story, where you come from.
Mhm.
So, can you maybe share just a little bit about your earlier life? So, what was also what you maybe saw you're from Zambia. So, what did you see in Zambia that really, yeah, put you on your path?
Mm. Okay. My earlier life, I studied aircraft engineering and manufacturing engineering in the UK. I did that for about that was 4 years, from 2002 to 2006. Yeah. So while when I was completing my education there, is when I noticed something that was a common trend in Zambia. Is when I would see that every year we would have a shortage of fuel in the country. And at the same time, I coincidentally watched a program about the biofuel industry in Brazil. And I started investigating how the situation in Brazil could apply to Zambia, and realized that we have similar climates and similar opportunity to grow our energy. The biofuels crops, the jatropha, the sugarcane, cassava, to grow it for the sake of producing our own renewable energy. And so I made the decision to come back to Zambia because I thought, well, this is where the opportunity will be. And yes, I came back to Zambia, but of course, I started doing my research, but things didn't take off immediately. That was in 2006 when I came back, but I needed money to start, so I decided to look for a job. And jobs, as anyone in Zambia can tell you, it's not easy to come by. But I was fortunate that I found that they were looking for interns at a local airline, and I joined there. And after I finished my internship, I was employed, and I had a bit of money to invest. And so I started growing my business, investing in my own R&D until I got to a point I had a working prototype and a product that I could actually use. I was actually started making biodiesel from the used cooking oil from the local restaurants. And once I started doing that, it was easy for me to navigate the whole industry and learn about the agricultural side of biofuels, working with the small scale farmers in the rural areas, looking at procuring better equipment from other suppliers in the region, in the African region, and basically perfecting what I was already doing. And so, yeah, that has been my journey. And by the time the airline I was working for collapsed, it went into liquidation, so I was made redundant, and I decided to take up my passion full time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then at least I had already done my R&D. I was already in production, and yeah. So it was a very lean startup
Yeah.
because we didn't have a lot of money. All the profit I made, I plowed back into the business, and that's how we kept the momentum going.
Yeah.
Because yeah. So that's the backstory of
Yeah.
it all.
Yeah, I think it's really amazing, like both that you kind of took your ideas, and even though you needed a job and you had at least some secure income, it's not that you weren't just like, oh, fine, but you'd actually continued working on it, and yeah, really built something for yourself, that you had something
Yeah,
to
well,
go back.
actually, I sometimes see the silver lining in being retrenched at that time, is because at a certain point I got comfortable. I
Yeah.
started thinking I'm working. I was 23 years old that time, and I thought I'm working. I've got a stable job. I don't need. I just thought, you know what? Let me. Maybe I can shelve my idea
Yeah.
until I am older and more established, and then I can do it. And then when the company closed down, I almost thought that all those ideas and the dreams had fallen apart.
Yeah.
But in fact, it was actually what I needed to help me get serious about what I was trying to do. Because when that happened, I dusted off all my equipment. I had actually even started putting them in storage, thinking, I
Yeah.
really don't need to do this. I'm still very young. But
Yeah.
now, when I look back and think about the energy I had in my early 20s and the push and the drive I had to make sure it works,
Yeah.
it would have been a serious feat to try and do that now. See, because I would
I
have
can
had to
imagine.
start learning everything I learned over 10 years ago. I would have had to start learning it now. And it has taken me about let me say, a good part of 10 years to
Hmm.
establish the systems and how I work, and to perfect all the systems and to make sure that everything works accordingly. So
Yeah.
I think it was there's the silver lining is that I got retrenched at an early age, and it
Mhm.
pushed me
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the path I am on now.
Yeah, it was a good push, I think, that
Yes,
you got. Sometimes things happen earlier than you expect, but
true.
for the good. Yeah, really, really amazing, inspiring journey, I think. And I think that what you also said is that you really took what you saw on ground, even though you had a lot of experience. You studied abroad, so you had really a lot of, yeah, exposure, I would say, to the outside. But what you did was you looked at, there's actually a fuel shortage, so there's a demand in your country, in Zambia, that is not being filled, and you have things that are not utilized, um, that you can manufacture to fill this demand.
Yes.
How I understood it. So can you maybe tell me a bit more about, yeah, about the journey, and about also the situation of Zambia and the situation of the economy, back then, and maybe now, and how it's maybe different.
Well, when I was starting, the situation, like around the fuel industry, it was a bit dire because we we were importing crude oil, and then we had to refine it in the country. But then our refinery had to go under maintenance every year, so that meant that we would have fuel shortages. But the government decided to change the system, start importing finished oil, so or finished fuels, so they didn't have to refine it in the country. Uh, that helped stabilize the fuel, but it also drove the cost of fuel up because now we're getting finished products.
Yeah.
So it's no longer raw material that we turn into finished products. It's now finished products that will be taxed heavily
Hmm.
because our tax structure taxes finished goods, but does not tax raw materials.
Yeah.
So that definitely will created an opportunity for our industry to grow bigger because now we have a local solution to importing the fuel,
Hmm.
but at the same time, the capacity for our industry to grow in terms of financing and infrastructure is very limited.
Hmm.
So over the years, the industry has actually grown. Uh, it has grown very big because now we have major producers who are producing enough fuel to satisfy the um, the maximum required fuel for
Hmm.
blending biofuels into fossil fuel.
Okay. Hmm.
So yeah, back then that's how it was, and also at the same time, that time we had a lot of importation of cosmetic products.
Hmm.
Um, but since the global crisis, 2008 global crisis, there's been a steady, gradual reduction in importation of a lot of goods because there was a lot of what can I say? Uh, a replacement of imported goods
Hmm.
like soaps, washing powders, and things like that. And so, as a lot of goods started being weaned off
Hmm.
importation, a lot of local producers started rising to meet the
Hmm.
demand. And
Yeah.
so, apart from the biofuels that we were doing, we
Hmm.
decided to diversify into the soap. Like I mentioned, the natural soap called Tapa Chinkonja. we diversified into it because we saw a need for a good quality, cheap carbolic soap. And the one that everybody knows is made by these big giants, and they were not bringing it in as much, but people still had a demand for it. And so we thought,
Yeah.
since we are already in the oil sector, the vegetable oil sector, which is the main raw material for these soaps, we can actually take utilize the oil into production of these soaps that are not being imported anymore.
Yeah.
And actually, that was
Yeah.
a big boost. So yeah, um, because of that, we have seen a rise in local producers, including ourselves, in natural soaps,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
these hand sanitizers for alcoholic hand sanitizers and shampoos,
Yeah.
and also on the biofuel side, um, the demand for cheaper fuel led us to increasing our, in fact, starting and increasing the number of small scale farmers growing energy crops.
Yeah.
Because when we started in 2013, like when we started moving away from working with used cooking oil to make biodiesel and soap, we decided to also start getting fresh oil. And so we partnered with a local agricultural organization, and we started with 50 farmers and went up to 2,000 farmers to grow energy crops like jatropha and cassava. So by doing that, we inserted ourselves to be in the value chain, and we even started moving away from processing completely to biofuels and started processing up to the stage of the raw material that other bigger players in our industry can utilize so
Yeah.
as to secure the raw material. And so the industry from 10 years ago, where there was no clear presence of raw materials for biofuels, to now, where the all producers have got their peak of where they want to now source their biofuels. It has changed,
Yeah.
and yeah, I can attribute that to deliberate actions that all of us in the industry have taken
Yeah.
to focus on different parts of the value chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I mean, it seems like, these the change in imports and the fuel prices actually getting higher led so many people to really work on this industry and in this industry. And the same with the soap products. And I
Mhm.
think that is a huge opportunity. I mean, that is also really what Wire Collective, I think, is about. Here in Uganda, we saw the use case of fashion. A lot of fashion is
Yeah,
imported, a lot, and maybe it's maybe it's not expensive in this case, but maybe it just doesn't fulfill the demand um,
exactly. Yeah, demand
of
is a
the
good driver.
consumers. Exactly, exactly. But I think that is really amazing. So that is really the case of Wire, and I think it's amazing to see, or it's also very natural that people are going to find solutions for that. If there's a problem, if there's a demand, people are going to find solutions. But what
Yes,
I'm
yes.
interested in is what is like the problems that you kind of came across, or what other players also came across, in the like what are the really hardest parts to actually building these systems, building these companies, making it happen.
Um, my biggest concern this whole time that I was building the business was a lot to do with raw material and that was mainly due to having just poor networks.
Mhm.
Because like we have the resources, we have the land, we have the people to get all these things done, but we do not have proper networks to get to the people.
Mhm.
And because of that, you find that even the simplest things like raw material, you have to really work hard to get to the source,
Mhm.
and that extends to even in the region, because we have a lot of countries that surround us, and we are part of a lot of economic zones. But we find that those in economic zones do not avail us the um, the right sources, like in Zimbabwe or South Africa or Botswana, Mozambique, Angola. There's a lot of resources in these other countries that can be utilized here in Zambia, and also a
Yeah.
lot of resources in Zambia that can be utilized in those countries. But because it feels fragmented, so we do not have the right network to leverage on to get what we need done. For
Mhm.
example, Jatropha is the most viable crop for biodiesel because it does not require um, much agricultural input.
Mhm.
It's rain fed and it can grow for 40 years without being tampered with. Now, um, a lot of the Jatropha in Zambia is from like eastern province of Zambia,
Mhm. Mhm.
but the Jatropha belt, we actually have a Jatropha belt in Africa, and it runs from Mozambique through Zambia, along the Zambian border, all the way into Zimbabwe.
Mhm.
But we are unable to communicate effectively to reach out to our counterparts in those other
Yeah.
countries to say, let's bring it all together and
Mhm.
create our own renewable energy industry. And so you
Mhm.
find that just that frustration makes the industry not grow. So we
Yeah.
have to focus on what we can get and
Mhm.
then try to grow that. Yet
Yeah.
there's an already existing catchment that can basically overnight boost the
Mhm.
industry
Yeah.
and see the region going towards a renewable energy self-sustaining future.
Mhm.
So that is my major headache. The
Yeah.
second one, of course, is usually capital. Like I
Mhm.
mentioned, that I did a lean startup for my business because I
Mhm.
knew that the banking sector in Zambia is very weak.
Yeah.
They are mostly focused on international companies that have already established their finances because that is the safe bet. And
Mhm.
so they do not have the expertise to really gauge the potential of a business
Mhm.
by seeing how it has operated and growing them as a business.
Yeah.
So they have to wait for it to reach a certain threshold before they
Yeah.
consider it as something that can be funded. And
Mhm.
because of that, they remain just a glorified ATM for the international businesses. So
Yeah.
I don't really pay
Yeah.
much attention to local banks or anything. I actually
Mm.
mostly even work with either private local investors or foreign investors and foreign
Yeah.
banks mostly. Otherwise, the local banks are just they are the press for for the international corporates.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Really, I can
that is
imagine.
a challenge, and
Yeah.
so yeah, finances was a challenge. So I did my lean
Mhm.
startup, reinvested my profits, and took a company that was worth pretty much nothing. But now, even my bankers, they look and say, okay, look, we saw how you started and you have done really well, but you're
Yeah.
still not yet there. So
Yeah.
I look,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just said, look, I'm not actually coming to you guys for a loan. Don't worry,
Mhm.
that will never happen. Even
Yeah.
if I'm worth $1 billion, it's better I
Mhm.
take my account somewhere where they want to grow local
Yeah.
businesses, or at least grow African businesses, than to take it there, because I know they will not help anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk a lot at Wire, we talk a lot about systems and creating
Mhm.
the right systems, and especially the banking system, I think, in African countries is just a really good example of how a system can just, it's just not working, it's not the right one.
No,
It's
yeah, no,
probably
it
been,
doesn't work. No.
yeah, it's been maybe imported, just duplicated from, it works in Europe, but it's been maybe duplicated, but with the same standards, which just don't apply in the
Yeah,
in the
true,
environment.
true. Yeah, yeah, that's why I meant that they do not, they lack the expertise,
Yeah,
because you see in Europe the system has been created based on what they see in the community.
yeah,
So now when that system has just been imported into the country and not what can I say, not customized to the local needs,
yeah,
it becomes just a piggy bank. You know,
yeah,
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 you don't see any real need, any value
yeah.
that that we a lot of us local entrepreneurs who start and build our businesses, we do not see the value of these international banks. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, because they also don't see you as value. So
exactly. Yeah.
unfortunately, but they should because there is of course a lot of value.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, they should, but I mean, like, they lack expertise.
exactly, exactly. um, Interesting. Yeah, I think. Okay, you mentioned the two, of course, issues, which is, I think both kind of systemic things, like the banks, where the financial system is just not really targeted or like made for the African context, and on the other hand,
Mhm.
also the communication between industries and really having maybe
Yes.
a network or something that really works for everyone. Um,
Actually, yeah, the network, it's mostly to do with our borders.
mhm,
Like, it would be nice if the AU would work like the EU, where we
mhm,
can move in a borderless society,
yeah,
because then it would be easier for people to move around and explore
yeah,
opportunities than
mhm,
the way it is right now, where if I want to go to the next country, I have to have my passport ready, I have to declare how long I'm there for. And yet, at once upon a time, it was all one big country. But
mhm,
yeah, we still, again, that's another imported system, the
mhm,
colonial borders, because at one time we were all together, and if we could go back to that time where we can actually engage each other without
mhm,
being bureaucratic, it would
mhm,
actually help a lot of businesses to just thrive
yeah.
in in Africa. And
Mhm.
I think Zambia would benefit so much if we could go abroad and our brothers could come in also and explore opportunities and work together.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I really understand, and it's really interesting that you say these things. I think, yeah, at Wire we kind of really also see a lot of the same issues, and we're trying to really create kind of these systems, both for the capital, of course, that's a big part, but
Mhm.
not for the borders. We can't change that, but also
Okay.
maybe creating
Well, in
creating
time.
maybe at some point,
Yeah.
no, but really maybe creating at least a borderless system for industries.
Hmm.
Maybe not something that is a government, but that really is can help people to work together, building industries. But
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's what also Wire is really about. Um, that I mean, now you talked a lot about your situation and what you've built in Zambia,
Yes.
and also the issues there. Um, you've also been generally, I think, an advocate for industries, not just the industries you're in, but yeah, there has to be more local industries being built in
Yeah,
African countries.
definitely. Definitely.
So why, from your perspective, would you say this is so important for you?
Well, like um, like Africa has a majority of the world's natural resources. Uh, but the thing is, we're not entitled to its wealth until we add value to it. So, if we do not add value through industrialization, it does not make sense why we expect that we have all the copper. Like we are, I think, the third largest copper producers in the world, and we still import copper cables. That doesn't make sense. We should be exporting copper cables to the whole world, but we don't because we are waiting for we are mostly focused on extractive industries. Dig up the copper, the cobalt, the cotton, export it, and wait for finished products. And then we still claim that we are entitled to the wealth because it's underneath our feet, and that doesn't make sense. So even an example, like you see, like what the Wire Collective is trying to do, which I'm very proud to be part of, is, and even why I joined, is because years ago I approached some friends in the fashion industry in Zambia, and I told them like, look, I went to Japan and I saw how they process cotton, and I saw how they have simple equipment that uh, cuts the t-shirts and the trousers and everything, and then they give to different people to sew them together. And I thought to them, I said, look, every time you have a fashion show in Zambia, you have an overwhelming demand for the products that you showcase on your fashion show.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to delivering, you have one tailor who has to cut every piece by hand and
Yeah.
then sew every piece together. And 1 month later, you have satisfied one customer.
Yeah.
And yet, if we work together, I even told them, I said, look, if you want, I can set it up, but as long as you tell me that you have a demand for the product, say, okay, as fashion people, as fashion creators, we want this guy to get the machine so that whenever we give him a design, I can make 10 pieces an hour, you know, so that if you're at a fashion show, you tell people that this item will be available in 2 3 days. You can deliver in 2 3 days. But if
Yeah.
you can tell one customer that no 1 month, another customer comes, no another month, then the hype will die down, and then you lose the client, and then the industry never grows. And so I thought about that. Then I thought about the textile industry. I said, we grow the cotton in Zambia, and then we prepare it, and then we put it on a truck. It gets on a boat to China. They make the fabric, and then they send back the fabric.
Yeah.
And I thought, you see, this is why we are struggling as a continent, because we can actually make these things locally. We do not need to export raw material. We should be exporting finished products. And
Yeah.
so, with the Wire Collective's strategy to engage the local communities, to work with local businessmen, local entrepreneurs, so that you are able to empower the local community to even utilize the raw material and create better value chains, it will
Yeah.
actually impact a lot more people, and it will just make the whole world better for it. Because I think that if African industries are stable, the costs of living globally will reduce. Well, I would think that if there's a ship that is saying that the cost of fuel is so high that they have to charge a lot to take raw materials to China, and then they have to charge a lot to bring finished products back to Africa. Imagine a situation whereby all the raw materials are produced local, are converted into finished products locally in Africa
Yeah.
cheaply, because you don't incur the initial cost of trucking it to the border or to the
Mhm.
seaport and shipping
Yeah.
it across. You don't incur that cost. So you have
Mhm.
produced finished products locally, and then those finished products can be taken all over the world,
Mhm.
you know, and then
Yeah.
they'll be cheaper. They'll be cheaper in Europe, they'll be cheaper in Asia, in America, everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Absolutely.
yeah, everybody
Mhm.
wins. So it just
Absolutely. And
becomes a one-way trip.
mhm. Either a
Yeah.
one-way trip or even a no-way trip. I mean, would also what our vision also is that even in Africa that people can consume what has been produced
Oh
locally,
no,
and
definitely.
to
But I
really
mean, I
have.
mean, like
Mhm.
products like cotton. I know this not. It's only in Congo that it's massively available. So I mean, like if you can make your iPhone in Congo and then you get it to Germany and
That's
you have
true.
your iPhone, then you're not worried about there's this, there's that tax. It's just a finished product. You use it and you're happy. Yeah. So I think
Exactly.
the industrialization of Africa would be very, very important. Because
Mhm.
like and a lot of people have been talking about the leapfrog
Mhm.
from no industry to like what can I just forgotten the term, like the point.
So like the
There's different
industry
levels of
4.0,
industry. Yes,
4.0.
because like right now Africa, we are still in the small scale industry,
Mhm.
small scale manufacturing industries. We still haven't yet reached to the massive industries. Like other
Mhm.
countries went from small scale to
Yeah.
no, artisan, small scale, large scale, then tech, and that's how they progressed.
Yeah.
We are still at small scale and artisan, so we
Mhm.
need to get the massive scales before we start thinking of even the tech.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say that we should be thinking about high tech and
Yeah.
all these things, coding and things. I said, look, that is great, but you see, you need a physical industry to apply
Mhm.
that to,
Yeah.
because like you cannot say that you want to optimize systems in Japan.
Mhm.
You want to create an app that to optimize systems in Japan when yet they've got high schoolers creating those systems already.
No, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. Yeah. You're absolutely
yeah.
right, and I
So
think that having that I talked about having this first live stream or this first podcast with you about 2 years ago, and I think we also
yes.
talked about that, and it was really the first time I really questioned kind of this leapfrogging to tech,
Mhm.
because that's kind of it's not how I kind of also question generally this notion of trying to build like these tech companies, which are maybe just tech to solve problems locally,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
they just can't. Like, there's so much on the ground. Like, tech can really help, but it always has to have like a local component. And I think that
Exactly. Oh yeah.
industrialization is just a big.
Actually, I just joined I joined a new business that recently
Mhm,
came to Zambia from Senegal called Yobanta
mhm,
Express,
mhm,
and it's a tech company, and they have a very interesting system on
mhm,
how to basically how to transport and deliver goods,
mhm,
because a lot of times we we use very expensive transportation methods to deliver our goods. Like I said, like our networks are very poor, so
mhm,
they came up with this app that creates opportunities for local businesses to become part of a distribution network as well as transporters. So you'll
mhm,
be seeing more of it soon, and we are hoping that it can help move the industries forward,
mhm.
help distribute raw materials faster,
Yeah.
you know, help get finished products to the intended users faster.
Mhm.
So it you see, so it's built around existing infrastructure, the agriculture
Hmm.
sector, manufacture sector,
Yeah.
artisanal sector. So that's
Hmm.
what I mean, that high tech should be part of something already existing.
Yeah. Yeah, and something to build something on ground. I mean, that's really also
Yeah.
what I think we at Wire Collective are doing. We're on one
Yes.
hand, we are a tech company, a blockchain company, really trying to utilize this to build local industry. So we rather look first on what is there and what is missing on ground that we can build, and how can we realistically actually build these local industries, but then also using tech to really, because that's then the actual leapfrog, using really tech to enable something that is way bigger. Because, for example, we at Wire, we see it as a huge opportunity. We don't see Africa as a place that needs to catch up. We see Africa as a place that can, with tech and with these new technologies, but looking also on ground, build something that is even much better or much more sustainable or something like that than existing systems in already developed countries.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but it
Yeah,
has to
no,
have the balance.
yeah, definitely. You have to have the balance. So yeah, so basically, yeah, I think that the Wire Collective has got it right. The
Yeah.
model makes sense, and I can see the great potential for growth. And I really looking forward to it now operating in Zambia as well.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So before we just continue a bit, to everyone who's watching right now, you can also ask questions. So if you have a question, we will do a small, yeah, we will just, once you write it in the chat, we can answer it. And if there's none, we're going to talk a bit more. But yeah, feel free to just write your questions in the chat. Also, LinkedIn, we see your messages. So Facebook too, you can write them, and we will answer them here. Um, yeah. So as we're waiting for the questions, for the potential questions, yeah, maybe we can actually get into what we plan with you in Zambia. So I think the idea that we had is right now. We want to build this first collective, this first local ecosystem in Uganda, but then Wire Collective is all about replicating it, and you can then replicate it in Zambia, right? Building this local ecosystem in Zambia
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, definitely, yeah, because there is a lot of potential in Zambia
Hmm.
for that model to thrive. So
Yeah.
I really feel that once you work out your system
Hmm.
and it's thriving in Uganda,
Yeah.
we can definitely replicate it in Zambia and make sure it works.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Having a partner like you who are already so experienced is definitely
Yeah, no,
a
I'm
big
happy
plus.
to be on board. I'm very happy to be on board.
Yeah. Amazing. Cool. I want to give the audience a few more minutes for questions if they have them. Okay, there's
Okay.
one by David. Hi Mutoba, how can I get your group of farmers you have to supply Jatrofa in dollars? So a local question. Do you want to answer that?
Mm, okay. In dollar, we do not have presence in dollar. We have explored Kapirimposhi, which is like near dollar, but we have not gotten the right yields. So we actually focused in one region. But we're definitely hopeful that if there's enough farmers who are interested uh, in Ndola, especially that is even near the country's oil refinery, we can
Mhm.
definitely take it up. So for now, we're just not present in the copper belt.
Mhm. We can get in touch afterwards. An idea by Peter. Do not forget fertilizers, biofertilizers.
Biofertilizer, yeah, it actually works very well. It's actually very good because biofertilizer is a component from the processing of the biofuels. You can derive it from that, or even create it independently, and it can definitely wean the country off of these chemical fertilizers, which are very degrading for the ground. Because the current practice is that we get chemical fertilizers, put them in the ground. Then once all the nutrients are leached off that area in of cropland, we move to a fresh part of land and then continue adding the chemical fertilizers. But all the while, it keeps on degrading the ground and killing off the earthworms and the natural components that keep the ground fertile. So the organic way is the best because what it does it stimulates the the microbial plant life in the ground and makes it more fertile and more productive for
Yeah.
crops in the long run. So yes, we don't forget about the biofertilizers. They are very critical to the growth of the agricultural sector in the country.
Yeah, and also to the sustainability.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. I want to ask you one last question. So, if
Yeah, sure.
you maybe want to give a small, maybe your vision of if, let's say, Wire Collective really works and we build these systems to um, distribute the knowledge and this and yeah, the supply chains, if we really get this model running to get a lot of investment for business and for manufacturing into African countries. What is your vision for the African industries, manufacturing industries?
Um, I was having a discussion this morning about how Africa is, let me say, plagued. Some people call it thrift clothing. We call it salaula. I call it a plague because we get so much um, secondhand products, secondhand products, sometimes even poor quality products that are sent to Africa, and then we spend so much money on paying for those things. But there's no real benefit for Africa because it's a finished product that is not worthy of us, but we still have to pay for it. And I think that the Wire Collective's strategy to create um, these factories that can create that can produce the fashion that people want and work with the local designers, local textile manufacturers. Uh, it would create this value chain where all that money that is being wasted in bringing second-hand clothes will actually be utilized locally. It will help, it will benefit the cotton farmers, it will benefit the cotton pickers, the textile producers, the fashion designers, and the factory workers in the wire factories. So I see a future where once wire is established in every African country, we can have localized fashion. We can develop our own fashionistas, and it would benefit the local population
Yeah,
and uplift the whole of Africa.
that's what it's about. Creating, building local industry.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that is the end. So I really, really thank you so much for coming here today. Even
Yeah.
though,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, absolutely, really amazing interview. Second one always gets better. And yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, really excited to work working with you in the future. And for now, I wish you a beautiful day, and everyone else watching too.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you so much.
I hope we meet again soon. Sorry,
Absolutely.
I'm in my car, so yeah.
No worries.
All right, all right, bye bye.
Okay, bye.